Welcome back to the channel, friends. It's Caleb, the Heikin Ashi investor. In this video, we're going to go over the weekly stock market action, looking at the QQQ, the SPY, and the IWM. And stick around to the end. I have a trade set up for you using the Heikin Ashi technique that is setting up very nicely this week. I think could run an easy 10 to 15%. So I'll go over that at the end. Let's go ahead and dive right in. First up, we have the QQQ, looking at the weekly chart here. As you can see, this week we started to get a little bit of change of character in the market. We have a Heikin Ashi doji candle here that is formed, which is telling us indecision. We've had a really nice run vertical. All these white candles I talked about last week in the weekly review. Well, now we have upper and lower wicks of about equal length. So we are seeing something starting to shift in the market. On a weekly chart perspective, we're still bullish. We still have our green fast cloud here. Things are still moving up. But if we dive down here into the daily chart, we can see a little bit different story. So let me make this nice and big. What we can see here on the daily chart is as we've been moving up from the left side of your screen down here to the right, moving up in this trend, there's been several instances where we have pulled back to this blue cloud. These are the 17 and 21 moving average, what I like to call, for my own purposes, the trend cloud. You can see there's been several times where we have come down and respected this trend cloud and bounced up. We had a brief breakthrough down here in the bottom left, but it's kind of served as a level of support. Well, this week is a bit concerning because we have now broken down through that cloud with two consecutive candles closing underneath it, very similar back here to April. What you can see as well is, if I take all these back off, clear our screen up just a little bit, we have a new downtrend starting on the daily chart. So we have since put in a lower high right here and a lower low because we broke through the recent swing low. So we are now starting to move downward in this fashion. So it could be a short-term pullback. It could be something that develops into something more severe. Time will only tell, but there has been a change in the sentiment, a change in the momentum on the QQQ. Kicking back over to the weekly chart really quick, if this pullback continues and moves on, a likely spot for it to land could be this blue trend cloud, right? If we look back over here to the left in this really great time period in the stock market after the COVID crash, where everything went straight up for the most part, there were a couple of instances where we came back to and tested on this weekly chart the blue trend cloud before continuing higher. So if that is something that is to happen again, there is quite a bit of a gap here from the Heikin Ashi close to the blue trend cloud, about 7%. So we could be in store for 6 to 7% pullback, if not more. Just something to keep an eye out for. That also happens to be right around the $350 mark. 350 is kind of a nice whole number that serves as a psychological level of support. All right, the SPY coming on over here on the weekly chart. Similar action to the QQQ. As you can see, we have the doji sort of candle forming here, which is showing a shift in momentum, a shift in sentiment on the weekly chart for the SPY. Digging down into the daily chart, we're going to see also a similar story, but not quite the same. So as you can see here, we had this pullback. Our short or our fast green cloud has turned red. We're down here around the trend cloud, the blue one. We're getting a close below it twice in a row. The one thing that's primarily different between this and the QQQ is that we haven't taken out the recent swing low yet. So we haven't officially shifted over into a downtrend on the SPY daily chart. Just a pullback as of now. But like I wrote over here on the side, we have the fast cloud turning red close below the trend cloud. So daily chart is bearish in the short term for right now. So we'll see how that continues to play out as well. And then moving on over to the IWM, the small caps, tracks the Russell 2000. So interesting action. We've been looking at this the past 2 weeks that I've done these videos. We were coming up into this zone here 2 weeks ago, and then last week, and then this week we actually tipped it off by 1 penny. We beat the high from previous. So did we take out the swing high? Well, yes, we did. But as you can see, a couple of things where the sentiment might be starting to shift. This candle here, this body of this candle is smaller, which shows a trend slowing in the Heikin Ashi. And then when we zoom down here into the daily chart, we can also see quite a bit of indecision. So the IWM was kind of the laggard throughout the course of the year as the NASDAQ QQQ shot up, and then the SPY kind of followed. I think NASDAQ went up like 30-something percent, SPY close to 20. Well, the IWM, as you can see, for a decent part of the year, really just kind of fiddled around in a zone before wanting to make its move. So it's also not pulling back quite as hard as the others as well. That just means it might follow them, might be a little bit slower to pull back as they pull back, or it might hold up a little bit better. We don't know, but we'll have to look and see. But as you can tell, we are a lot of upper and lower wicks in this area here, kind of trading in a range right now. Have not broken through the trend cloud just yet, so we'll see if we hang out and find support before continuing to move up. One thing I do want to show you here on the weekly chart, this is a technique that can be used with the Heikin Ashi candles, and that is looking at the real price of the close of the candle while looking at the Heikin Ashi chart. So I use an indicator on TradingView called real price for Heikin Ashi charts, and what you can see here is every one of these purple crosses is actually where the body of that candle closed. So let me just click over to a regular candlestick chart. You can see we have a down candle that closed down here. When we go back to the Heikin Ashi chart, it's still an upward white candle just because of the way that they're formulated with the averages. The nice thing about these, putting a real close on something like this, is that there's a technique with Heikin Ashi, and that is if the real close happens to show up inside the candle body of the Heikin Ashi, that could signify a possible trend reversal or trend change. If it's more than halfway through the body, more than 50%, that's an even stronger signal. So let me draw your attention here to the middle of the chart. Right here, you can see I drew an arrow and it says prior close inside the candle body. We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 weeks of upward price momentum after this doji break, but then we had a close down here within the body which started the rolling over of the price back down into a downtrend. Very similar, if I can draw your attention a little bit more to the left, is you can see 2 back-to-back closes here within these black candle bodies on this pullback or downtrend, pullback really, that turned into a doji which led into the uptrend. So not something I keep on my chart all the time, but I am aware of it. We have that this week inside of that weekly body, so wouldn't be unlikely, it's more likely than not, I would say, for next week's candle to print an even smaller white, if not a doji or something with an upper and a lower wick. So I'm expecting a little bit more downside next week, if not just choppy action to the side. So lastly, I want to show you a trade idea, a setup that I like for the next week or two. The market is showing a lot of weakness right now. People have been talking about a pullback for quite some time. I talked on my video last week. We've had something like 20 consecutive bullish candles on the weekly for the NASDAQ. It's very far removed from its trend cloud. And typically, over the course of history, you have mean reversion where price will come back to those moving averages. And so, if that is what's about to transpire, a good possible quick swing trade is this ETF TECS. This is a tech sector ETF that's leveraged 3 times, so it moves quickly and it moves nice. If the, for example, the triple QQQ, if the Nasdaq moves 1% in a day, it moves 3%. So similar with this. This is made up of a lot of the same big tech stocks that the Nasdaq is. And so when you get downward movement in the QQQ, you get upward movement in the techs, the TECS. So looking down here at the bottom of the chart, we can see a couple of significant things have happened if we are looking to go long on this stock. Number one, I drew a downward trend line here that we have broken through with 2 consecutive daily candles. We have the fast EMA cloud here going from red to green. We also are crossing over the trend EMA. So now we have gone above that trend line and it is starting to curve to the upside. These are all bullish signals to signify we could be going long here. I would love to see this take out this recent swing high at 1472. We're not too far away from that right now, but if we can do that, then we are in a new uptrend with this stock, with this ETF. And to draw your attention back here to the left, to a similar time period, this is back in August of 2022 when the QQQ had a sharp pullback. In this same exact time period, from the end of day of this candle here on Monday the 22nd to the end of day on Tuesday the 6th of September, the QQQ pulled back 6% total over that time period, and the TECS techs rose 30% almost over that same time period. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 11 days, 30% move. So I think something similar is setting up here. As always, you want to manage your risk. You enter into something like that. A couple of stop techniques if you were to go long with this trade is to trail the stop right behind the bottom of each of your candles as it moves up. Or you could use these moving averages as your support down here. Or you can set a stop loss that's related to the movement of the daily movement of the ETF. So it went up 2% today. This candle here is a 3.5% candle. This is a 4.5% move right there. So we're already up almost 10% in 3 days. Could have another 20% in the back. So that's a recap of the weekly action with the Heikin Ashi technique. Hope you found something valuable here. Hope you enjoyed the trade idea. I'm going to be putting some of those into these videos as they pop up for me. I personally am going to play techs long for a short swing. Nothing I say in these videos is any type of financial advice. It is just me sharing something that I'm passionate about and looking at the market through a different technique and a different format, if you will. So hope everybody has a great week. If you like this video, do me a favor, leave a like, comment below things you'd like to see me produce on this channel. If you have questions, happy to answer those. And if you found value in this content, I would love it if you could subscribe to the channel for future videos.